Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Text 25. Avyaktoyam achintyoyam avikaryoyam uchyate tasmad evam vidvidvenam nanushochitam arhasi.
Said, the soul is invisible, inconceivable, and immutable. Knowing this, you should not grieve for the body.
Text 26. Atha chenam nitya jatam nityam va manyase mritam tathapi tvam mahabaho nenam shochitum arhasi.
If, however, you think that the soul or the symptoms of life will always be born and die forever, you will have no reason to lament, O mighty armed.
Text 27. Jatasya hi drivu mrityur dhruvam janma mritasya cha tasmad aparye rikte natvam shochitam arhasi.
One who has taken birth is sure to die, and after death one is sure to take birth again. Therefore, in the unavoidable discharge of your duty, you should not lament.
Text 28. Avyaktadini bhutani vyaktamadhyani bharata avyaktani dhyani eva tatra kapi hridevana.
All created beings are unmanifest in their beginning, manifest in their interim state, and unmanifest again when annihilated. So what need is there for lamentation?
Text 29. Ascharyavat pashati kashid enam ascharyavat vadati tatheva janya ascharyavat chenam anyashnoti shrutavyapena vedanache vachasit.
Some look on the soul as amazing, some describe him as amazing, and some hear of him as amazing, while others, even after hearing about him, cannot understand him at all.
Text 30. Dehi nityam abhadyoyam dehe sarvasya bharata tasmat sarvani bhutani natvam shochitam arhasi.
O descendant of Bharata, please. O descendant of Bharata, he who dwells in the body can never be slain. Therefore, you need not grieve for any living being.
Text 31. Swadharmamapi kakviksha navikampitum arhasi dharmayad yudachrinyat kshatriyasya na vidyate.
Considering your specific duty as a Kshatriya, you should know that there is no better engagement for you than fighting on religious principles, and so there is no need for hesitation.
Text 32. Yadarchaya chupapanam svargadvaram apavartam sukhinaha kshatraya partha labante yudam idrasham.
O Partha, happy are the Kshatriyas to whom such fighting opportunities come unsought, opening for them the doors of the heavenly planets.
Text 33. Atha chitvam imam dharmyam sangarmam na karishyasi tataha spadharmam kritim cha hitva papam avapsyasi.
If, however, you do not perform your religious duty of fighting, then you will certainly incur sin for neglecting your duties and thus lose your reputation as a fighter.
Text 34. Akirtim chapi bhutani katya shishyanti te vyayam sambhavavitsya chakirtir maranad atirichyate.
People will always speak of your infamy, and for a respectable person, dishonor is worse than death.
Text 35. Bhayadranad paratam mamasyanti tvamahrata yesham chatvam bahumato bhutva yasyashi laghavam.
The great generals who have highly esteemed your name and fame will think that you have left the battlefield out of fear only, and thus they will consider you insignificant.
Are you on mute, Mataji? Geeta Mataji?
Yes, I accidentally had muted myself. Thank you, Mataji. Text 36. Avachyavadamscha bahun vadishanti tavehitaha nindantastvava samaretyam tatho dukhataram nukim.
Your enemies will describe you in many unkind words and scorn your ability. What could be more painful for you?
Text 37. Hato va prapsyasi svargam jitva va bhukshashe mahim tasmad uttista konteya yudhaya krita nishchayah.
O son of Kunti, either you will be killed on the battlefield and attain the heavenly planets, or you will conquer and enjoy earthly kingdom. Therefore, get up with determination and fight.
Text 38. Sukha dukhe same kritva labha labho jaya jayo tatho yudhaya yujasva nevam papam avapsyasi.
Do thou fighting for the sake of fighting, without considering happiness or distress, loss or gain, victory or defeat, and by doing so, you shall never incur sin.
Text 39. Esha te bhita shankye bhudir yoge tvamimam shrinu bhudya yukto yaya partha karma bhandam parasyashi.
Thus far, I have described this knowledge to you through analytical study. Now listen as I explain it in terms of working without fruitive results. O son of Pratha, when you act in such knowledge, you can free yourself from the bondage of works.
Text 40. Neha vikramana nashosti pratyavayo na vidyate svalpamapi asya dharmasya rayate mahato bhayat.
In this endeavor, there is no loss or diminution, and a little advancement on this path can protect one from the most dangerous type of fear.
Text 41. Vyavasyantamika budir ekaha guru nandana bahushakahi anantascha bhudayo vaivayashinam.
Those who are on this path are resolute in purpose, and their aim is one. O beloved child of the Gurus, the intelligence of those who are irresolute is many-branched.
Text 42 to 43. Yam imam pushpitam vacham pravadyanti avipsichata vedavadarataha partha nanyad astiti vadinaha kamatmana svargapara janma karma phala pradam kriya vishesha bahulam bhogeshishvaragatim prati.
Men of small knowledge are very much attached to the flowery words of the Vedas, which recommend various fruitive activities for elevation to heavenly planets, resultant good birth, power, and so forth. Being desirous of sense gratification, the opulent life, they say that there is nothing more than this.
Text 44. Bhogeshvarya prasaktanam taya partha chitasam vyavaya saktvima buddhi samadana vidyate.
In the minds of those who are too attached to sense enjoyment and material opulence, and who are bewildered by such things, the resolute determination for devotional service to the Supreme Lord does not take place.
Text 45. Tregunya vishaya veda nistregunyo bivarjuna nidvando nitya sattvasto niryogakshema atmavan.
The Vedas mainly deal with the subject of the three modes of material nature. O Arjuna, become transcendental to these three modes, be free from all dualities and from all anxieties for gain and safety, and be established in the self.
Mataji, we go on to 48, yes. Text 46. Yavan artha udapane sarvata samplutotake tavan sarveshu vedeshu brahmanasya vijannataha.
All purposes served by a small well can at once be served by a great reservoir of water. Similarly, all purposes of the Vedas can be served to one who knows the purpose behind them.
Text 47. Karmane evadikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana ma karma phalahitur bhur ma te sangostvak akarmani.
You have the right to perform your prescribed duty, but you are not entitled to the fruits of action. Never consider yourself the cause of the results of your activities, and never be attached to not doing your duty.
Text 48. Yogastha kuru karmani sangam tyavakta dhananjaya sidhya sityo samo bhutva samatvam yoga uchyate.
Perform your duty equipoised, O Arjuna, abandoning all attachment to success or failure. Such equanimity is called yoga. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Geeta Mataji and Hitesh Prabhu. Thank you for reciting wonderfully.
Thank you for the opportunity as always.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Please accept my humble obeisances. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. All right. So yes, we are continuing with chapter 2, contents of the Gita summarized. And today I don't have a PowerPoint slides show to share with you all. So we will just be, hopefully I'll be able to still get the nectar out of this verse even without the slides. I'll just share the screen for this particular verse. So we are on verse number 46. Just give me 1 minute. Okay, here we are, verse 2.46. Yavan artha, am I doing the right thing? Yeah. Yavan artha udapane sarvata samlupto dake tavan sarveshu vedeshu brahmanasya vijanataha. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. All purposes served by a small well can at once be served by a great reservoir of water. Similarly, all the purposes of the Vedas can be served to one who knows the purpose behind them. Does anybody want to read the purport today?
Can I read it, Mataji?
Yes, please, Shipra Mataji.
Okay, right. The rituals and sacrifices mentioned in the Karma Kanda division of the Vedic literature are, can't see this, are meant to encourage gradual development of self-realization. And the purpose of self-realization is clearly stated in the 15th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita 15:15. The purpose of studying the Vedas is to know Lord Krishna, the primeval cause of everything. So self-realization means understanding Krishna and one's eternal relationship with him. The relationship of the living entities with Krishna is also mentioned in the 15th chapter of Bhagavad Gita 15.7. The living entities are parts and parcel of Krishna. Therefore, a revival of Krishna consciousness by the individual living entity is the highest perfectional stage of Vedic knowledge. This is confirmed in the Srimad Bhagavatam 3.33.7 as follows. Ahobata spa paku tu gatyatan yatji bhaj bhartate namaha tubhayam tapashte juha vya shasyanur yadra brahmanuchar nama ganani yati. O my Lord, a person who is chanting your holy name, although born of a low family like that of a Chandala dog eater, is situated on the highest platform of self-realization. Such a person must have performed all kinds of penances and sacrifices according to Vedic rituals and studied the Vedic literature many times after taking his bath in all the holy places of pilgrimage. Such a person is considered to be the best of the Aryan family. So one must be intelligent enough to understand the sorry, um, intelligent enough to understand the purpose of the Vedas without being attached to the rituals only, and must not desire to be elevated to the heavenly kingdoms for a better quality of sense gratification. It is not possible for the common man in this age to follow all the rules and regulations of the Vedic rituals, nor is it possible to study all of the Vedanta and the Upanishads thoroughly. It requires much time, energy, knowledge, and resources to execute the purposes of the Vedas. This is hardly possible in this age. The best purpose of Vedic culture is served, however, by chanting the holy name of the Lord, as recommended by Lord Chaitanya, the deliverer of all fallen souls. When Lord Chaitanya was asked by a great Vedic scholar, Prakashananda Saraswati, why the Lord was chanting the holy name of the Lord like a sentimentalist. Instead of studying Vedanta philosophy, the Lord replied that his spiritual master had found him to be a great fool, and thus asked him to chant the holy name of Lord Krishna. He did so and became ecstatic like a madman. In this age of Kali, most of the population is foolish and not adequately educated to understand Vedanta philosophy. The best purpose of Vedanta philosophy is served by in offensively chanting the holy name of the Lord. Vedanta is the last word in Vedic wisdom, and the author and knower of the Vedanta philosophy is Lord Krishna, and the highest Vedantanist is the great soul who takes pleasure in chanting the holy names of the Lord. That is the ultimate purpose of all Vedic mysticism. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Shipra Mataji. Thank you for reading. Before we go into discussing this verse, let's just recite our prayers. Om Agyanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatriyubhascha Kripa Sindhubhevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschata Deshadarine. All right, so let us discuss this particular verse today, and let's see what we can get out of this verse. Quite direct instructions by Krishna actually in this particular verse, where he's saying that all purposes served by a small well can at once be served by a great reservoir of water. I don't know how far it's prevalent now, but in villages in India, previously, few years back, because now almost everybody has got a different source of water supply, but till a few years back, the water supply, the main source of water supply was wells. And each well was used for a particular purpose, like, one would wash clothes in one particular well, and then drinking water would be collected from another well, and having your bath would be in another well. But if you had a river, a flowing river, then all these purposes could be served by just that river water. And Prabhupada explains that flowing water does not get contaminated. So it doesn't matter whether you're washing clothes there or you're washing vessels or you're having a bath, because when the water is flowing, it does not get contaminated. Only stagnant water gets contaminated, right? So what Krishna is trying to explain is that rather than having all these different wells and going to different wells, the same purpose can be fulfilled by a river. The analogy here is that a lot of people go to the different demigods. So let's say you are praying for good health, so you pray to Surya Dev, or if you want knowledge, then you pray to the goddess Saraswati. If you want material opulence, you pray to Durga, or you want some other benedictions, you pray to Lord Shiva. So here Krishna is saying that all of these purposes can be served if you come directly to me. And he says, like in the Purport Prabhupada is talking about the verse 15.15, where it clearly Krishna is saying, Sarvasya chaham ridishan nivishto matar. I'm forgetting this. Vedescha sarvairahameva vedya vedanta kridveda vid eva chaham. So what Krishna is saying is that I am seated in everyone's heart. And it is from me that remembrance, forgetfulness, everything comes. And from all the Vedas, I am to be known because I am the compiler of the Veda. I am the one who has compiled the Vedas. So the point that is being made over here is that the Vedas have got, let's say, 100,000 verses. I haven't read the Vedas. I don't know if any of you have. But, it's got, let's say, 100,000 verses. But all of those verses are meant only for one purpose, and that is to eventually understand Krishna. It so happens that while I was doing research, I found this very interesting way it is written. So it says, the Vedas describe varieties of rituals, practices, prayers, ceremonies, and gems of knowledge. But all these are given with only one aim, and that is to help unite the soul with God. And again, Prabhupada is speaking about the verse 15.7, where it says that, we are each part and parcel of Krishna. Krishna is saying, Mamai Vamsho Jiva Loke, Jiva Bhuta Sanatana, Mana Sachtrandi Indrani, Prakriti Sthani Kashrati. So the individual soul is part and parcel of me. And the only goal of each of this soul is to eventually unite with Krishna. And the only goal of the knowledge of the Vedas is to understand who is Krishna. What is my relation with Krishna, right? There are people who approach Krishna with some kind of material intentions, that they want some material benedictions. There are some people who approach Krishna because they want liberation. But Krishna says even that is okay as long as they are approaching me. And there is a beautiful verse in the Bhagavatam, second canto, and it says, Akama sarva kamova moksha kama udaradi tivrena bhakti yogena yajate purusham param. So here it's being said that the person who has broader intelligence, whether he wants material opulence or whether he wants liberation or whether he has some desire, whatever it is, he must just worship me. Now, the reason why he must worship me is that bhakti has everything. Bhakti includes everything. Let's take, for example, that, you want, let's say, karmis want some fruitive results. Bhakti can give you those results. And if we look at the pastimes of Krishna and we look at this, the story of, the fruit vendor, this lady who was selling fruits In those days, there wasn't money being exchanged. There was a barter system. So you give something that you have for something that I need, like that. So while she was selling fruits in her fruit basket, little Krishna wanted to take these fruits from her. He ran inside to get grains of rice in his hand. By the time he came out to give these grains of rice to her, from his little hands, from the gaps in his fingers, almost all the rice had slipped away and he had very little, few grains of rice. But the fruit vendor was so taken by the charm of this little boy, Krishna, that she just wanted to give him everything only for love. She was not expecting anything in return. And she started handing him all the fruits from her basket. And when she did this out of pure love, what did Krishna then do? Krishna filled her entire basket with different kind of precious gems and jewels, right? We know this story. All of us knows this story, right? So Krishna is only asking for love. And what he is saying and what is being stressed here is that bhakti includes everything. So let's say you want material opulence, bhakti will give you that. You want knowledge, you want to be, you're a jnani, you want philosophy, bhakti will give you that also, because all of these books that we have, all of our shastra is teaching us philosophy. As if you want something like, if you're a yogi and you want to be in samadhi, bhakti is giving you that, because you're always in complete absorption of Krishna. So bhakti and Krishna consciousness actually is like this flowing river. You see, the only qualification that is needed is that we approach this flowing river of Krishna consciousness with love, without any kind of selfish motive. Again, here the story of Duryodhana and Arjuna come to mind. When the battle of Kurukshetra was about to begin, Krishna had said to Duryodhana and Arjuna that you can come and ask me what you want, right? And Arjuna asked for Krishna, right at the beginning, had said that I have got these many Akshayoni Sena. So I've got these, these soldiers that I can give. So one side can get these soldiers, the other can get me, but I will not fight, right? Even after knowing all this, Arjuna chose Krishna. And then Duryodhana got all the army of Krishna. So after Duryodhana had left, Krishna asked Arjuna, why did you choose me? You knew that I can't do anything. I will not fight. And Arjuna said, Krishna, wherever you are, there is all victory. There is no denying that. So Krishna is looking at the motive of the people who are approaching him. If we approach him with love, with no selfish desire, then Krishna will give us what we need, or Krishna does not give us what we want. Because sometimes we don't know that what we want is not beneficial for us. So Krishna will always give us what is beneficial for us. But the problem is that in today's world, everybody is motivated. Like, let's take the example of, I'm talking about today's, the Kali Yuga. The pujari that goes to perform, say, some pujas at at somebody's house, he's the pujari. He goes there. As soon as he's finished, he needs to rush because he has an appointment at another place where he wants to perform the puja. So everything is materially motivated. Even students, we say that teachers are our guru. How many of us, after having passed out of school or college, have kept in touch with our teachers? So everything is very, very selfish. Of course, the only closest love and unselfish and unmotivated love in today's world is what a mother has, a mother's love for her child. That is totally unmotivated, of course. So yeah, Krishna consciousness or bhakti it includes everything. Everything is in bhakti. So Prabhupada once, when he was giving a class, he said that Krishna consciousness will include every aspect of every path of religion, or spiritual path that you're following. And he gave the example. He said that Buddhism focuses on non-violence. Krishna consciousness is a non-violent religion or path. Christianity talks about love of God, and all that we constantly speak about is love of God. Muslims talk about how we are the servants of God. And in Krishna consciousness philosophy, the most important thing that we talk about is how we can be the servant of the Lord by being the servant of the servant of the servant. So in that sense, Krishna consciousness is covering everything. So it is like this river which fulfills all the purposes of all these, all the wells. But our problem is that we read this, we understand that we are part and parcel of Krishna. Because we are part and parcel of Krishna, our only dharma, our eternal dharma, is to be the servant of the Lord. But we tend to constantly forget it because we are so overpowered by the modes of the material nature, by our different senses, so overpowered by this desire to fulfill our sense of obligation, that we forget this most essential teaching of the Bhagavad Gita and of all our scriptures. And I'm just going to tell you a very short story about this. I'm just going to mute people. Yeah. So a very short story, but a really, really nice story to bring across this, this point of how we forget things. I can hear a lot of background sound. I'm not sure if, can I request everybody to please to mute yourself so that we don't have a background sound. Right, so there is this story. There were these birds living in the forest, and every other day there would be hunters coming to hunt down these birds. So the birds got together and were thinking, how do we resolve this problem? Because these hunters are coming and we're getting caught in their nets, and how do we resolve this problem? So one of the wise birds there said, there's a sage in the forest who is performing austerities, and these sages are very wise people. So let's go and speak to the sage. So this group of birds went to the sage, and they spoke to him about their problem. And the sage, after hearing everything, he gave them this mantra, right? He gave them this mantra that the hunter will come, he will place the net, he will put the grains on the net, but we must not become greedy and not get caught in this net. Now, he told the birds to repeat this mantra every morning, like how we have after our Mangala Arati, we are doing our japa. So this was the japa that the birds had to do. So they had to repeat, the hunter will come, he will spread his net, he will put the grains on the net, we must not be greedy and not get caught in the net. Now, all of these birds were repeating the mantra, and if any bird fell asleep, the other one nudged him and said, come on, you have to chant, you have to chant. So the birds are chanting this mantra. After a few days, the hunter came. The hunter spread his net. He put the grains there. What did the birds do? The birds forgot the last line of the mantra and went and got caught in the net because they were so greedy for these grains. So they got caught in the net again. When they were caught, they were speaking to each other and they were saying that, the hunter came, he put his net, he put the grains on the net, and we forgot that we must not be greedy. This is our state. Time and again, our acharyas, our gurus are reminding us, I am not this body, I am the soul. My eternal dharma is to be connected with my Lord, with Krishna, to be a servant of the Lord. But what happens? I forget this mantra because I am so engrossed in fulfilling my senses that I forget this mantra. So here, Prabhupada is saying that in this material world, in this Kali Yuga, to remember the Vedic mantras, to follow all the rituals systematically according to the Vedas is not possible. And that is why the easiest way, the easiest thing that has been given to us in Kali Yuga is to chant the holy name, to chant the holy name constantly, right? And Prabhupada is talking about this verse from the Bhagavatam, which is very, 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 how do you say, it is very potent. So it says here 3.33.7, where it says that, oh my Lord, a person who's chanting your holy name is situated on the highest platform of self-realization. Now, one may ask that, how by chanting, just by chanting, how is one situated on the highest platform? Prabhupada explains that all of us, if we are chanting the holy name, we haven't come to this stage suddenly. All of us, we have already performed various kinds of Vedic rituals and sacrifices. Then we have come to this stage. So it has been a gradual process over many, many, many lifetimes, or maybe even just this one lifetime, if we have got the mercy of the devotees and the grace of Lord Krishna. But we haven't just suddenly come to this stage. Like an example, that if a student is studying medicine at university, he hasn't just come to that stage without graduating from the previous classes. So he has done all of those courses. He's done his GCSE and A levels and whatever else, and then come there. So even for us to come to this stage of chanting the holy name, we haven't just come automatically. It has taken us many, many, many lifetimes, or like I say, just even one lifetime. Like Prabhupada said, one can become a devotee in 1 second. But we have come after performing various Vedic rituals and sacrifices, or we have come to this stage because of the immense compassion and mercy and grace of devotees of the Lord, right? So one must understand that there is no point in wasting our times in doing, karmakanda rituals, or trying to become a jnani, a philosopher, or trying to get yogic siddhis where, I become smaller than the smallest or bigger than the biggest, or I can just make things appear and make things disappear. Those don't matter. Why they don't matter? Because if you have not reached the stage of understanding the absolute, if you've not reached the stage of understanding Krishna, the Lord, then all of these things are just a waste. They just don't matter. And there are some very important verses in the Bhagavatam which speak of this. There's this verse from the Bhagavatam, 1 Canto 1, chapter 2, verse 28 and 29, which says that the goal of all Vedic mantras, the ritualistic activities, spiritual practices, sacrifices, cultivation of knowledge, and performance of duties is to help the soul to reach the divine feet of God. Now, then one may think that if that is the case, then why do the Vedas talk about all these rituals and all of these sacrifices? Why don't they just speak about the highest? The problem is that when you go to the doctor and he has to give you this really like bitter pill, sometimes those are sugar coated so that you can easily take it. And that is why sometimes to attract materially minded people, the Vedas also has to give them, like how we give the donkey this grass. We, sway the grass in front of its mouth so that it'll walk ahead and bear the heavy burden. So likewise, the Vedas are giving us these kind of, some kind of material allurements that we take this first step. Because once we start taking the step, we've studied, or we will study the yoga ladder, that once we start taking these steps, then you gradually move on and you progress and you realize that, okay, all of this is leading me to only one goal, and that is to understand that I am part and parcel of Krishna, that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and my eternal relation to Krishna is that I am servant of Krishna. So in this particular verse, this is what Krishna is telling us, that, just become my devotee and chant the holy names. And what a wonderful example has been given here of the Lord himself. When the Lord appeared as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he was in Banaras and he was chanting the holy names and dancing on the streets. And one of the greatest scholars of those times, Prakashananda Saraswati, these scholars, these Vedantists would look down on devotees as being sentimentalist. They think, why are you dancing and singing on the street? You should rather spend your time in studying the Vedas. And that is what Prakashananda Saraswati said to Mahaprabhu. And Mahaprabhu, he said that, my guru thought that I am such a fool, I will never understand these Vedas. So he asked me to just chant the holy name. But by chanting these holy names, I feel complete ecstasy. See, this is an instruction to us. Just by taking the Lord's name, you will be in complete ecstasy. You don't need anything else. You don't need any kind of knowledge. You don't need any kind of yogic siddhis. So the goal of studying the Vedas is to become a bhakta, but the goal of chanting the holy name is that you are already on that path. And that is what is most essential. Eventually, of course, Mahaprabhu was able to convert Prakashananda Saraswati and all of his followers to devotees, who became devotees of the Lord, who started chanting the holy name. And so again, in the purport, Prabhupada says that in this age of Kali, all of us are foolish, and we don't have that much of knowledge, or we won't be educated to understand the Vedanta philosophy. And that is why just by chanting, we will reach the goal, which we would have otherwise reached from, taking the longer route. So Prabhupada is giving us the shortcut. He's given us actually the elevator. So rather than taking the stairs and going up one floor and second floor and third floor, he says, why don't you directly come to the top floor? Just take the elevator and come to the top floor, which is bhakti. So that's what is being spoken about over here. Before we go, just one last story, so that we remember this. So once Prabhupada was in Chennai, and as usual, people would come to him and ask him lots of questions. And, in one of his interactions, he was talking about, he was speaking to one gentleman, and he said, do you think puja is better or bhajan is better? Now, see, there is a very subtle difference between puja and bhajan. And this man said, bhajan. Yeah. Now, what is the difference between puja and bhajan? Puja is where we perform various rituals, where we do different kind of vratas, like, you're performing austerities, you're fasting, but you're doing this because you want something in return. Sometimes in India, people do pujas and vratas to get a child, or sometimes to, get a good husband. So there's different things that, you want. Bhajan is where you're only doing it to please the Lord. And there's one story where everybody knows Tansen and Akbar. Tansen was this brilliant singer in Akbar's court. When he used to sing, he could make, if he would sing some of the ragas, if he wanted the rain, then it would start raining. He had that kind of power. He was such a brilliant singer. Once in that kingdom, a very, very great devotee of the Lord was there. He was traveling and he was passing by through that kingdom. And King Akbar said to Tansen that, I want to go to this devotee's Sangha, where he was singing and praying. When this a devotee was singing his prayers, King Akbar could not stop the flow of tears from his eyes. And when he was going back to his palace, he asked Tansen, he said, you also sing for me, and you also sing so beautifully, and you're such a great singer, but I don't have these emotions. I don't cry. And at that time, Tansen, being a very, very honest person, he said, I sing because I get paid for it. this devotee was singing to please the Lord. So it is the emotions that count. So what is important in bhakti is the emotions, how we approach the Lord. What is our feeling when we are approaching the Lord? Are we doing it to get something, or are we doing it just to please the Lord? So important to constantly remind ourselves about this. So yeah, I would just like to end by emphasizing on a couple of points from this verse and purport. Most important point to understand that what is our relation with Lord Krishna, how we can, that relation is already existing, it is dormant. So how do we revive our relation? In Kali Yuga, the best and easiest way is to chant the holy names of the Lord. And that is what Mahaprabhu has come and said to us. That is what Prabhupada is telling us. That is what all our acharyas have telling us. So my humble request to all of you is, if you are not already chanting, then please start today. It's never too late, it's never too early. Start chanting with complete faith in the words of Lord Krishna. He's speaking himself in the Bhagavad Gita. So I'm sure that once we start chanting, then you will see that you will get everything that you want to encourage you to move forward in your spiritual path. So thank you very much. I will end here. If there are any questions or comments, corrections, please unmute yourselves and speak.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. I chant a lot, but I don't chant loudly. I do it in my mind. But yesterday, Prabhuji was saying that it should be heard. You should be able to hear your chanting.
Yes. Ideally, and Prabhupada always says this, that hearing is very, very important. So when you chant, you should be able to hear yourself. There's two things, Mataji. What happens is, when you chant softly and your mind is running in all directions, which is what the mind does, you're not able to bring it back. Whereas when you chant loudly, what happens is, because your mind is still running in all directions, but because you're saying it loudly and you consciously want to hear what you're saying, your mind comes back to the words of the holy name. That is why it is important to chant loudly. And when we say loudly, it doesn't mean that you chant extremely loudly. It is loud enough that you can hear.
Okay. Yeah, because sometimes you might be in public or people might be around you. Although you're sitting peacefully, quietly on your own, you can't really chant because there's other people about, if you see what I mean.
No, that's true.
Depending
and that is why
where you are.
Yeah, that's why the idea is that you chant only as loudly as you can hear. It
you can hear yourself, yeah.
Yes, it doesn't have to be loud.
Okay, yeah. Thank you, Mataji. The other question was, you were saying about the senses overtake us. So this is where our duty comes in. It's not so much greed, but sometimes we all have duties in this material world. You're a parent, a wife, whatever, a mother, whatever. So it's your duties that get in the way, isn't it? But we have to do our duty as well. That is life.
Okay, so the point here is that, and I always say this, I have said this many times, because I say it because I want to apply it. It's very important to have a distinction between your needs and your wants. Sometimes what happens is that we get so caught up in our wants that we forget that if we don't have this also, we will still be fine and we will still be fulfilling our duties. That is one point. The second point is that Krishna consciousness does not tell you that you should not have education, or you should not have wealth, or you should not have all the other opulences. What it tells you is how you can use all these opulences in the service of Krishna. We have got some very, very big industrialists who are extremely rich, but who are Krishna conscious. And what they do with their money is that they use it in Krishna conscious activities. So Prabhupada never said that, you have to be poor, because if that is what he would have said, we wouldn't have such opulent temples. ISKCON has some of the most opulent temples all over the world. The point is that how do we use all of these things in the service of Krishna? That is the most important thing. Your knowledge, your other opulence, your wealth, or your talents, your abilities to maybe to sing, to preach, how can I use it in Krishna's service? So the idea is, and this is where the term yukta vairagya comes, as in that you don't renounce things, you don't leave everything and go and live in the forest. True renunciation is how I can use this in the service of the Lord.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what it is. So
Thank you,
like you're saying, your duties, yes, you fulfill all your duties. You don't give up any of your duties.
No.
You're a parent, you're a mother, you live in the society, you have to contribute to the society. But how can I use all of these in Krishna's service? And bear in mind that your children are Krishna's children. So you looking after them is also a service.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Mataji.
No problem.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Joli Mataji.
Thank you for the most amazing stories, that really enchanting stories, and connecting it with chanting. That's amazing. They're very rich stories, Mataji. I love them. And there's so many value in meaning and value in them. I'm thinking about the self-motivated, no time fully to complete anything. I'm caught up in that world. And I wondered how, I think before venturing into another, you don't complete that previous one. So it goes like this 24/7. So how does one manage that?
Joli Mataji, again, this is, there's 2-3 things. It's very individual, but it also comes with the association of devotees. When you're struggling with something, there are 2 things that I do, because I struggle. It's not like, it's just you. All of us go through these phases. We all struggle. There are times when, for whatever reasons, you try so much, but it just doesn't work the way you want to. At that time, it is very important to seek the guidance of senior devotees. Open your heart out to somebody that you can trust, somebody who will understand you and who wants to help you. So, open your heart out and say, I'm struggling. I really, really want to do this, but I don't know how. And trust me, these devotees will, because, you have to remember that Krishna uses different people as instruments. And Krishna, through these devotees, will guide you and give you the way of how to do things. Because if hundreds and hundreds of devotees all over the world can manage their time with full-time working, with responsibilities of children and businesses and whatever else, then, I'm sure that they have a formula which they can share with me. Right? So, I mean, just seeking help. Very important to seek help, putting our ego on the side and actually humbling ourselves and saying, I really am just not able to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's similar to the story about the hunter and the birds. And I find I'm forgetting quite a lot about offering when I'm on the run, offering whatever I'm grabbing to eat to Krishna. Does that apply? The forgetfulness, is it similar to that when I forget? I mean, what is it, a greed, or is it a need, or is it a want? It's more of a want, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, in the sense that all of us in this material world, we are caught up in the, so you know how it is. The mode of goodness is most influential in the morning time. During the day, because we are out and about and we are doing various activities, it's the mode of passion. And when we are in the mode of passion, sometimes we forget to do things that we ideally should be doing. My advice, and this is my personal advice, I'm sure others may differ, is that don't beat yourself up too much about it.
Yeah.
Things do happen, but don't beat yourself too much, because Krishna, he's so loving that he sees this. The only thing that I would say is that, when you realize, then, just beg for forgiveness to Krishna. Say, I'm so sorry. I am so fallen. I just don't know what to do, but you are so kind that even after all this, you are still with me.
Yeah. And
And
I,
that is
but I
what
seem to be doing that a lot, realizing in midstream and then asking for help and forgiveness. So yeah, but as you say, if you realize, it compensates, doesn't it? I suppose, which is
in
wonderful.
a sense. No, in a sense, but Joli Mataji, think about this. If maybe a couple of months back or a year back, did you have the same kind of realization?
No,
So my
no,
point is that you are moving
it's
up the ladder.
working. Yeah.
Exactly. So, there will
Yeah.
come one day when you will not forget this. So, you know what, you should be happy at seeing the progress that you've made rather than beating yourself up about things that
Yes.
you are not doing.
Yes, you're right. I don't beat myself, but it comes to mind regularly because
No, it's okay.
in my work mostly I tend to look for the needs instead of the wants. So I like that distinction between the needs and the want. And really it's like, you know, in the Krishna consciousness, we serve people. It's such a focus on serving, giving. But in my work, we try not, well, the idea is to get them to do their own thing.
Yeah.
So looking at their needs, because they're fallen in that area. So we actually try to help them to be independent, to be self-sufficient, to do their own thing instead of being dependent, if you see what I mean. So is that okay? I mean, is that a service? I suppose it's a service. It's a good service, isn't it?
Yes. I would look at it. And I'll tell you one thing. No matter what you're doing, unless it is absolutely like abominable, but no matter what you're doing, if you bring Krishna in the center, because remember, the people that you're serving are all parts and parcel of Krishna. So
Yeah,
you are
absolutely.
serving. See, that's the point. So when we start seeing this, when we start seeing Krishna in everything, in everybody, in every activity that we do, that is the stage where then you start becoming a devotee of Krishna. I know it is easier said than done, but we all are practicing. All of us are struggling. We all are there to help each other. Whenever we fall down, we take a step back. Prabhupada said that you won't fall down, but you may have some difficulties. But don't worry, because you have done some devotional service. Krishna will not forget that, and I will not forget that. So that's the hope that we all have, to be honest.
Thank you, Mataji. Please give us more stories. They were beautiful. And I love the idea you said about chanting. I'm hooked on chanting. So that's
Good.
one area that's
See, we all are like the birds, and we
Yes.
all, like the birds, are reminding each other. We all have to remind each other that, in this Kali Yuga, there is only one thing to do, and that is chant. That's it. Yeah.
Yes. And even when I'm not chanting on the beads, I'm still chanting.
That's
Because it's like it's catching. It's so lovely. It's beautiful. And sometimes I'm not even thinking of it. So is that counted, do you think?
Oh yes, of course. In the Gita, it says that there were some people, including me. I used to think, where did these idea of 16 rounds came about? Right? Where does it say? But in the Gita, Krishna is saying, Man mana mad bhav bhakto. He says, constantly think of me. Yeah, Krishna is saying this. Some people may ask, where does Krishna say that you have to chant his names? But Krishna is saying it in the Bhagavad Gita. Prabhupada has been kind to let us get away with just 16 rounds, but Krishna is saying 24/7 you should be thinking of me and chanting my names. You see?
So beautiful.
So yeah.
I like the idea about putting emotion into your activities, which is wonderful. And it's beautiful when you do, because you feel it too. Yeah. And Krishna appreciates. Thank you for taking so much time up and for the devotees as well.
Thank you, Jyoti Mataji. I've got some comments in the chat box. Kusum Mataji says that, and which is wonderful. I think that's the main learning for all of us, Kusum Mataji. So I will share with everybody. She says, the main learning from today's class for me is to remember not to be greedy to satisfy my senses and chant the holy name, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Rama.
Hare Hare.
Thank you so much, Kusum Mataji. And
Thank you, Madhu Kumari Mataji. Wonderful class. Always. When the points just stick in my head the way you say it. Thank you so much.
thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. I'm just seeing if there's any other comments. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, all of you, for your encouragement. Hema Mataji says that Srila Prabhupada says a mother's main responsibility and priority should be to look after the children and ensure they are Krishna conscious above any other service. 100%, Hema Mataji. Not just Prabhupada, all our gurus and acharyas say that the most important responsibility when you're a mother is to look after the children. Don't leave that and come and try to do services at the temple, because then that is not right. So yes, that is very, very important. There is one comment, and I don't know who this is, but there is a private message saying that, oh, you don't know the prayers that we just sang. Where can you find and listen to learn them? So these prayers are in the Bhagavad Gita, as it is in the beginning few pages. These are called the Mangala Charan prayers. If you search on YouTube for Mangala Charan prayers, you will find them. This is actually what I am reciting is just a few verses. It is a long prayer. And normally we do recite long prayers, but sometimes in classes, because we have limited time, so we just recite the shorter prayers. But this is in the Bhagavad Gita in the first few pages. Yeah. Bhagavati Mataji says, goal of all Vedic mantras is to help the soul reach the divine feet of God. Yes, that's what is the message from today's verse and from Bhagavad Gita, actually. Okay, thank you for sharing, Hitesh Prabhu. I'll just read this out. It is 10 to 9 already, and if devotees want to leave, they are free to, but I'll read the messages from the devotees who are participating. Hitesh Prabhu has written, child worship is more important than deity worship. If you cannot spend time with him, then stop the duties of pujari. These children are given to us by Krishna. They are Vaishnavas, and we must be very careful to protect them. These are not ordinary children. They are Vaikuntha children, and we are very fortunate we can give them a chance to advance further in Krishna consciousness. That is very great responsibility. Do not neglect it or be confused. This is a letter by Srila Prabhupada to his disciple on the 30th of July, 1972. So yes, again here talking about children, and we must remember that Krishna consciousness does not teach you to run away or shirk any responsibilities. What Krishna consciousness is teaching you is to bring Krishna also into your life. It does not say leave everything, become a yogi, go into the forest and live. Krishna consciousness does not say that. So you continue to be a mother, a homemaker, a full-time worker, an employee, a businessman, businesswoman, whatever it is. Don't give up any of that, but change your consciousness. Sthane sthita, it says in the Bhagavatam, be where you are. Don't change anything. Don't take on the robes of a sannyasi or whatever. No, it's fine. Just be where you are, but bring Krishna into the center. And when we say bring Krishna into the center, meaning change your consciousness. That's it. Yeah. So if there are no more comments or questions, maybe we could stop here unless anybody has any
Can I
further
ask
things.
one question, Mataji?
Yes,
Just
yes.
last one, short one. Now,
Yes.
I am a bit confused, not confused, but bit sort of like lacking of time, because I seem to be doing quite more Zoom classes on various things like Srimad Bhagavatam, Ishopanishad, and Gita classes, and the Ched classes, and another Gita class. And I'm lacking behind in reading, because I attend the class, write a few notes, and that's it. Because then it's time to do other activities or do other housework or go to work. And I'm lacking behind. I do my rounds. I have no problem with that. But it's a reading that I'm lacking behind, and I'm confused. I don't know what to do. Should I stop some of the sessions or?
Okay. No, okay. So one thing is, when we say reading does not only mean you personally reading. Of course, that is important. But what you're doing when you're attending these classes is also, in a sense, reading, and that too in the association of devotees.
Mhm.
So don't think that you're neglecting reading, because what you're doing now, I mean, if you know, when you're attending classes, you're doing it in the association of devotees, which is great. But remember one thing, that self sadhana is also very important. So besides chanting your rounds, trying to take some time out to kind of just, even if you focus, let's say, on just one verse of the Bhagavad Gita or the Bhagavatam, one verse and the purport, and try to understand it. You know, like I said, we shouldn't be like the birds. I am like that bird where I'm chanting the mantra, but I'm not applying anything. So what we have to strive for is, even if it means just one verse a day with the purport, and if I can absorb the meaning and then apply it, that is the change of heart. Otherwise, I could be reading for years and years and years, and if nothing is happening, then what's the point? You see?
Yeah.
That's what Prabhupada says. We don't want to be a jnani and philosopher where I read everything, I know all the verses by heart, but I have not applied any of it to myself.
So application is important, isn't it? Rather than just
Most important.
reading here and there and attending
Yes.
this class and that class and then
Most
forget
important.
about it and go jump to another class. I don't think that is necessary, isn't it?
So swadhyaya is very important. So your self sadhana is also very, very important. But remember one thing, that you will never be able to understand these scriptures on your own. So you
No.
do need to listen, and you do need to try and understand it in the association of devotees. So, you know, there is no harm in attending classes, but obviously one must then try and set a limit, saying, you know, how many can I attend and how much of the information. So it's like too much of information, but no application and no change in me. That is not helpful.
Yes. All right.
Yeah.
That's very helpful. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Okay.
But Mataji, some of us have different learning style, don't we? It's like
Yes.
I learn more by listening than to
Yes.
sit with a book and get more confused,
Yes.
because some of the script in one book is sometimes contradictory in another. I'm not
Yes.
saying it's bad, but it's a challenging situation. So if you can learn that way, I think, but personally, that's how I learn, by listening more than
Jyoti
and have
Mataji,
discussions.
yeah, no, but Jyoti Mataji, when we say reading, we don't mean to take a book and read. Hearing is also considered the same thing. So if you are listening, like my Prabhuji, like I like to read, but Prabhuji, like my husband, he does not like to read as much, and he absorbs so much more by just hearing.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
there are different kind of people. So you have to remember that we don't mean literally reading a book. Hearing is also considered as reading. So yes, if you are hearing, you know, like we attend the Bhagavatam classes in the morning. That is why Prabhupada has got this structure in all ISKCON temples, that there'll be Bhagavatam classes in the morning, there'll be Bhagavad Gita classes in the evening. And, you know, the speakers are going deep into just one verse, which is going to be helpful to each one of us. Like that. So yeah.
Hare Krishna.
There's a question, what about people who can't read? So I think we just discussed that. It's okay if people can't read. There are so many applications available today on the internet and YouTube and so many other places where you can actually hear. And like I said, hearing is also considered the same as reading. Literally reading does not mean that you take a book. Hearing the purports and the verses, you know, being recited by devotees is the same. So if you can't read, one can then hear, which has the same effect. I hope that helps. It is 9 o'clock, quite late. So is there any other pressing questions? If not, then maybe we can stop here. And a very, very happy Ekadashi to all of you. Wonderful to have this session today on Ekadashi day.
Wonderful,
And I hope that all of you are getting as much nectar as we are out of, you know, doing these sessions. And thank you for joining every day. Vanchakalpatrubhascha
Pasendu
Evacha Pachitanam Pava.
Vaishvebhyo
Namo Namaha.
Hare
Thank
Krishna,
you.
Mataji.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Hare Bol.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you for the
Thank you,
wonderful class,
everybody.
Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, everybody. Thank you for wonderful class, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, everybody.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.